It is Saturday the 6th of March. It's about midday. I've had a bit of a lie in. The sun has come out. Things have warmed up a little bit. I'm ready to get stuck into the fiesta. Now you'll see here that I've made a list of the jobs left to do. I'm hopeful at this stage that I'm at the end of the diagnosis phase. I have all the parts that I need. Hopefully now it's just a question of putting it all back together. Now assuming each one of these jobs takes an average an hour, that's about 20 hours of work. So chances of getting it done this weekend are slim. However, if a few things go my way and I don't hit any more problems, then I might get it on the road by tomorrow evening, which would be great. I'm dying to see if my fixes have worked. And on that, these are my three worries when I put the car back together and turn the key. Will my power steering fix work? The connection into the rack is a bit squiffy. It didn't make me happy the way they sat in together, but I'm hopeful that in the innards of the steering rack that everything will be okay. Will my ABS light go out? You know, replace the module, which is kind of the big thing that it can be. If it's not that, then, well, hopefully it's not a second dodgy module, but if it's not that, then is it potentially a wheel sensor or is it the ABS itself? I don't know. So hopefully that will go out. That'll be a major thing done. And the other thing I'm worried about is, will I have an airbag issue? Will the airbag light come on? Because when I twiddle the wheel around, I may have broken, stupidly, the clock spring. So you can get new squibs, new stock packs online pretty easily. They're only about 20 or 30 quid, so I can put that in. It's not a major job to do, and at least I don't have to roll around the gravel to do it. But it's another hassle and another expense I don't need at this stage. So that's it. That's my list. And the first thing I'm going to do, this is in no particular order by the way, but the first thing I'm going to do is install the gear cables, because everything else hinges on that. So it's 12 o'clock, time to crack on. My new gear cables have arrived, and compared to the old ones, I mean, the movement is just delightful. So I have compared them to the original ones that were on the Fiesta, and everything seems 100%. These aren't Ford ones. Ford ones are a couple of hundred quid, £200 or £300. These are Borg & Beck's, and I've bought stuff of theirs before and it seems to be pretty good quality. I've also compared the two and they're all pretty similar, like for like. Now, the trick with getting this thing in is I'm going to use a piece of rubber hose and I'm going to tape it onto these, partly to protect these connectors, because these broke when I was taking them through the car, and also to make it easier to feed through the microscopic gap that sits underneath the dashboard where this thing fits through the bulkhead. So I'm just going to put some gaffer tape on that, tape it all up so it's protected, and then hopefully by feeding the hose through the engine bay, I can tug it through, coax it through without having to put any strain on the cables themselves. It's a horrible pernickety job, and then after that I've got to go underneath and put the heat shield on, which I hate going under the car. But there's only two nuts that hold it on, so I won't be down in there too long, and hopefully they're easy enough to access. So that's it, that's job one. Let's get going. So cable's all taped up. Here's my hose at the other end. The gap I'm trying to feed it through is that one there at the very back. This you can see the heat shield in through there, so that's what I'm trying to work with. I'll leave the camera here. Is there anywhere I can leave it where it's not actually in the way? And we'll try that. I'll feed the cable through here and see if it goes. What I'm hopeful of is that this is one of those things where it catches on things in one direction, but going the other one, it all goes together lovely. You know, there might be a piece of metal that snagged it going the other way, but isn't a problem this time. Right, that's passed through pretty easy. I'm going to check the engine bay. See how it's looking. So that part of the plan has worked well so far. Let me give you a look what's going on in the engine bay. There you go. Okay, so there's the hose coming through the back. So I just tugged that through like so. That's the little gap I'm dealing with back there underneath between the heat shield and the car. So now I've probably reached the point where the gear linkage, the gear cable have started to meet resistance. Yep, we have. And this is the point now where the fight begins. So Do excuse me. I'm going to put this on time lapse because this is probably going to take a while. Well, they're through. It wasn't a lot of fun to do that. In the end, I had to. There's a little square panel that it passes through, and I had to widen it out in order to be able to pass the cable through because they're quite bulky and the gap is quite small. Next job now is the moment of truth. I need to open this out and just make sure that when I take the tape off that none of the little connectors got damaged, because if that happens, I won't be very happy. So that's it, my gear cables are in. They're locked in position. When I took the tape off, all the locks, everything were in perfect condition, so no issues. So now these are locked into the little holders. I just have to adjust, well, I've already adjusted the fore and aft here, so that just, when you decide where the movement is, you just click that into place and that aligns all that for you. They snap in, no issues there. Just need to pull the bellows down and attach them around these little points at the bottom and top here so that it keeps all the grime and dirt out of there, but they're in. And I'm very pleased about that. And this is that's the spot in the bulkhead where they route through. So this was the big job today, to get this thing in. I was dreading this, and it's only taken just over an hour. That's how it looks like inside here now. But what's crucial is that I now have two of my controls back in the car. I have my clutch pedal back. It's very light, super light, and then I've got my gear change here, which is, pardon my hand, which is like, it's just like, I mean, honestly, it's like a hot knife through butter. It's just lovely, super positive, super sneaky. Yeah, that's gonna feel amazing. So we're making progress. As I say, a little over an hour to do that, and that was a really tricky job, and that's the one I thought was going to take the most time. So I'm going to knock that off my list once I've tied up the last little bits and bobs. The other thing I need to do is I need to get into the bulkhead as well and flatten down the little square hole that I opened out. I need to tap that down so that when I put the seal on, it will seal the cabin away from the heat shield, and then, you know, any dirt or exhaust or any kind of stuff that may come through there, any smells, it'll seal all that off. But that's the only job really left to do vis-a-vis the gear linkage. It's a very unpleasant job to do, but that will hopefully never need to be done on this car ever again. Bit of a panic moment there. I have, well, I'll show you on the other side. I've kind of buttoned everything up. I haven't put the final sort of bolts holding everything in place, sorry, the nuts holding everything in place in just yet, but the wheel is, it's sitting back in the A arm, steering arm is in, anti-roll bars in, everything's looking good over here. All my drive shafts are in as well, all the way through, including the little carrier in the middle. That side went okay. Come over to this side, and actually it all popped together pretty well. Having learned how to do it on that side, I applied that over here. But when I went to push the drive shaft through, no joy. And that's a pandemonium moment, because like everything is in. The last thing you put in when you put the gearbox in are the drive shafts, and you can't really put them in until everything else is done. That's all the last thing you do, and it wouldn't go in. So I had to undo everything, so it's all free again. But good news, I took it out, and then I took the circlip off the end of it, and it's slotted home perfectly. So basically this little circlip is the issue. I think it's gotten a bit strained or a bit battered just from being out of the car, so I'm going to give that a bit of a squeeze, put it back on, and hopefully it'll slot in and I can put this together, and that will be another major job ticked. That means when I button all that up, I'm almost at the point where I can put the car back on its wheels. Before I do that though, I'll need to bleed the brakes, all 4 brakes actually, and there's a special method to do that, which involves putting the battery and everything into it. So before I can put it back on its wheels, got to put all the battery stuff in. But again, with the exception of the oil cooler, which shouldn't be a big job, I'm nearly there in here. I've routed all the cables and everything and wires through and hoses and reconnected everything that needs to be reconnected. So it looks a bit messy, but it's actually not that bad. Once the battery tray goes in there, all these will sort of click in around it. They all slot into little slots on the back of the battery tray. So we're getting close. As I started to take the Fiesta apart, I came across more and more problems, one of which was this coolant hose here, which had started to leak up here at the thermostat housing. And it had caused quite a bit of corrosion, and there was quite a bit of water leaking down underneath, and I think that may be the reason why my linkage gave up the ghost, because it's right underneath it. Anyway, a replacement one from Ford was, I think it was 60 odd quid or something. Well, I wasn't paying that because it's a hose. So I took the little connector off the end of it, and it just you just prise it off, and the old hose you throw away. It's got a length of new hose, which is much stronger than the original one. That was about a tenner. And then a couple, including the little Jubilee clips to hold it on either end. So I've just slotted it in now, and it fits in beautifully. I've cut it obviously to length to get it to fit, but you know, that's 50 quid's worth of saving right there, and I guarantee you that hose will outlast the car. So it's coming up on 6 o'clock. How has progress been? Actually, not too bad today. The car did fight me a little bit, but it's okay. 2 drive shafts are in now, they're home and they're set, and that means that the whole wheel hub is now fully bolted down. Got nice new bolts and nuts holding it in everywhere, lock nuts in where required. You know, everything that needs to be replaced has been replaced with good quality stuff. I've also got new bleed nipples in there. I haven't done the bleeding yet, but these are stainless steel, and that threading seems to have taken, so fingers crossed that I've saved that caliper, even if I that caliper. And even if I haven't though, you can pick them up for 20-30 quid, so it's not the end of the world. Still, money I'd rather not spend. In the engine bay, more sort of routing of cables and wires. I've got the little the loom harness snapped into place here, and this just cleans up the engine bay, but my god, is this a busy part of the engine. And then I've also got this little battery tray in. This is a little piece of mild steel. Remember when I bought the car first and took the battery out to get access to the ABS module, which is there at the back, and found this pile of rusting metal here? My heart sank. I thought that the chassis leg had rusted through, but turns out it's just a stupid bit of metal, which you can't buy aftermarket, and you can't buy them secondhand because they're all rusted. And if you look at it, it's exposed to all the road grime. I mean, it's literally exposed to everything that the road has to throw at it. So as you can see from the sticker, you have to buy a Ford piece. £40 that. Ugh. Anyway, it's one of those things. But all the prep work I did earlier on has really paid off now. So all the earthing and all the painting and all that's all done. And so it was just, the whole thing was really easy to put back together. And with every nut and bolt that I'm replacing on the car, everything is stainless steel. Everything that's on here is very prone to rusting, and if anybody needs to work in it in the future, I don't want them to have to go through what I've been through drilling out nuts and bolts and stuff. So all in all, pretty happy with how everything has gone. A little bit more to do before the light fades, so I'm going to crack on. It's about 7:30. It's freezing cold, hence the hoodie, but I'm almost done, so I just wanted to give you a quick update before I headed indoors. As you can see, the engine is looking pretty close to being, well, nearly done now. All the intake system is now in, air intake, the little resonator box, the new throttle body, all that's in. Battery trays in with its new stainless steel bolts, happy with that. And crucially, my new power steering reservoir is in. It's bolted to the inside of the battery tray, and then there are 2 hoses clamped on underneath in there, and they lead over here to where the old power steering hose, let me just move this light, where the old power steering reservoir used to be, which was here on top of the engine, getting too hot. So you can see where the new hoses are clamped in, one there and one there. And there's my new auxiliary belt, because I've changed that as well. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just priming it. So that involves just opening it up, putting fluid in it. It is, I don't know how much fluid it actually takes in total. I've put about half a litre into it so far. So there's another little bit in there. Put a little, just top that up there with that. It's at that level now. And then all I do then is just get into the car, not on, because if you turn it on, the power steering pump kicks in, it goes everywhere. But I'm just twisting it back and forth, and then going back to the reservoir and seeing how much it's after drinking into the system. See, it's taking another half litre there. So I just got to keep doing that until there's no more, it doesn't go down anymore until it's basically full of fluid. And when that happens, I put the cap on it, and then tomorrow turn on the pump and hope for the best that it all stays together under pressure. But overall, really happy. car's coming together. We're getting there. Tomorrow could be D-Day. It's 8 a.m. on a Sunday morning. A little early to be out here, maybe. I have no intention of getting the impact wrench out or anything like that and waking the neighbours. But I woke up at about 7 and all I could think about was getting this car finished. Now, when I say finished, I mean this stage of it done. I'm under no illusions that this car is going to spring into life and everything will be fine, because it has been a bit of a fighter and I don't think it's done fighting yet. But in any case, let's see how the day goes. So the engine is now pretty much complete, save for putting the battery in and obviously the headlamps. So the oil is in, the power steering fluid is in, the coolant is in, and I'm reasonably happy with how it all looks. Just need to check it then, turn the engine over later on and check that everything is working as it should. I'm nervous about the power steering, I'm nervous about the coolant. So that's going to be a fun one. The other thing I need to do today is I need to get the wheels off, get it jacked up in the rear, get the wheels off, and I need to bleed the brakes on all 4 wheels. There's a way of doing that with the ForScan software, which you have to go around the car twice, so it's easy to do it when the car's on axle stands. I also have to put the exhaust in, which isn't a complicated but is a grunty job. So I'm probably going to do that first and get that in. Once that's done, the rest of it then is pretty much it's pretty lightweight really by comparison. I do need to change the bleed nipples on the rear brake discs, on the brake calipers though. The front ones were a bit dodgy, so I've replaced those. So I just need to do the rear ones, just to future-proof it, not stainless steel ones. But that's pretty much it. I'm at the point now where I could be ready to start testing this thing at lunchtime. Don't know how it'll all go, don't know if my little fixes will work, don't know if my seals will hold. Yes, I'm nervous but excited, hence I'm awake at 8 o'clock in the morning. Big relief. I was changing out the last of the bleeder valves, the bleed nipples on the rear of the Fiesta here, because I need to change them because I need to bleed the system. Because obviously taking the ABS module out and the power steering system has put a lot of air in the brake, in the hydraulic system, so I need to bleed these out. But the rear nipples are in shocking condition because they make them out of mild steel. So this one fought me. I thought it was going to come off, I thought it was going to snap off. Eventually what I did was I cut the top off it so I could get a socket around it, and then I beat a 7mm spanner or 7mm socket over the top of it. That got enough purchase to twist it off, but it means I can put nice new stainless steel ones in that won't hopefully rust up again like these ones did, make it easier to adjust. Now with that in, and they're nice 8mm as well, not a weird 7mm size. Now with these in, I will be able to bleed the system nice and quickly, nice and consistently, no issues. Yeah, so now all I've got to do now is get the ForScan system ready, put the battery back in the car, which will be interesting, because it'll be the first time the battery will have been in it in a while, so it'll be interesting to see what kind of codes and things it throws up. But yeah, I'm going to put the battery in the car, get the ForScan system going, and see where we're at. We're nearly there. I'm getting very close to the point now where I turn the key for the first time and see if all my fixes have actually paid off. The battery is in, the car has kind of come back to life and hasn't been too cranky. The dials have popped the mileage back up, so they're okay, they're working. I haven't broken them by taking them out. I plugged in the ForScan adapter and got the laptop out to see if I could do this cool little thing that I've seen other people do online, which is they do an ABS module bleed using the laptop. So it basically activates various things around the car and makes that happen. But I think that may only be for cars with ESP or more advanced systems, because it doesn't offer me the option here on mine. I can do module resets but nothing else, so I'm going to have to go old school on it, I'm afraid, and get somebody to help me pump the brakes. I had tried using my little bleeder tool here, which is great for kind of local bleeds, but when you're trying to pull brake fluid from the whole system through, it just doesn't have the suction for that. So I'm going to have to just, as I say, do it old school. But that is that. The other thing I'm doing right now is I'm putting gearbox oil in it. because obviously there wasn't any in it. Actually, that's gone down. So that's all I'm doing. I'm doing a little bit by little bit, just a few little gulps at a time. Having said that, it has now taken almost 4 liters of oil, so it's quite a thirsty thing, that gearbox. No wonder it made a mess on the car when the last one exploded. So you can see the hose feeding into the gearbox there, glug glug glug, and I'll just keep doing that until it starts to overflow. That's when it tells you that it's full. But other than that, and putting the headlamps in, we're pretty much there. All the bleed valves are on the brakes now. They're all in, ready to be bled, and then everything else is in. Power steering, I've just topped that up. Yeah, brake fluid, well, we'll see what happens there. Coolant, hoses, throttle body, intake. Yeah, everything is in. I'm ready to go. Just gotta wait for my wife to come back, help me do the brakes, then I'll turn it over, drop it on its wheels, and see if it goes. Alright, for the very first time in a very long time, the Fiesta will sit on its own 4 wheels. The car's back in its springs, back in its own suspension. When I get to start it for the first time, let's see what happens. Previously, I would always get an ABS done. What will I get this time? I fucking hate this bit. Pardon my language. Okay, everything's clicking on okay. Well, I have no lights. I got that one warning light to tell me the bonnet is open, but I have no lights. Clutch is out. Okay, let me try my clutch. Put it in first. Let's just give it a bit of juice. Huh? It clutches. Didn't really go anywhere because I can't really go, but it definitely catches and engages. Ooh, that's nice. That's nice. No lights. Fully serviced. The exhaust is no longer blowing. I think I've done it. I think I've cracked it. Alright, now I'm going to let it run for a while, let it get up to temperature, see what happens. Let me just go into the engine bay and make sure there's nothing making some weird noises in there. Oh, handbrake up. I need that now. I've also got to check the brakes. Can't really do that until MOT day. Running away nicely. Throttle body's okay. Oxidaz is running okay. Alright, let's get it up to temp and see what happens. So I'm just back from my first little run up and down the access road here just to see how it was all hanging together. Temperatures, power steering, all that looks great. Power steering doesn't make any more noise, all sounds great, but my ABS light is back. So I turned it on earlier on, as I said, before the car was moving, no issue. But now it's back again, so I've got to plug in the forescan and see what's causing it. Maybe this time I'll get a proper error code that I can read, but there's a lot of work to get to here, and to have the one thing that's stopping this thing getting through its MOT popping back up again is depressing, frankly. Anyway, let's see what forescan says before we get too depressed. Nothing on the OBD, nothing on the instruments, nothing on the radio, and nothing on the General Electric monitors. There's no error codes anywhere. This is just a bunch of old stuff that's not relevant. All that's cleared now, so I'm not getting anything. Everything is, yeah, pretty much stock. So I'm at a dead end, really. I don't know what to do. I'll drive up here, and I promise you, drive up my little access road here, and I promise you, this phone will probably fall. If it does, I do apologise. The ABS light will go out, and come back on again. ABS light is on. Usually around this point is when it likes to turn off. Yeah, now it's off. And now it's back on again. That's how long it takes for it to do that. I can't go any further now because this is the public road, so I gotta go back. But yeah, that's how long it goes off, it goes on, and there's nothing else I can do about it. Nightmare. Nightmare.